the best aliens of all time. Would Total Recall count as an alien movie?
A three-titted lady, that counts.
The best alien, in my opinion, is Chewbacca.
The Shadow Crew Podcast.
He bought a PlayStation 5 and it was a PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 3 duct taped together and it equals 5.
That was like one of my favorite things.
Hey, welcome to the Shadow Cruise podcast, everyone. You caught us mid bullshit, but we're excited for you all to come and listen and join the cast. We were just jumping into a bunch of things, and we thought, what better way to start this episode of the cast than to jump right into the meat and potatoes of our best of series. And this week it is the best alien based movies of all time. So we're not talking about just alien like the alien movies, but anything with an alien in it. Now, let's be clear, everyone. I think for this group, what are we talking about here? Because there's aliens in a lot of films. So let's specify, because we could name 900 movies, to be honest with you. So what are the qualifications of it being truly an alien film?
A creature from a different planet than Earth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like the Lagoon?
As the main character, are we saying? Like the primary character?
No.
Okay.
The alien in Alien is not the main character.
Okay. All right. Would Total Recall count as an alien movie?
If you count the mutants that were born on Mars, maybe.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen.
Three-titted lady, that counts.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this will be a 4-hour podcast of the best of series. No, but in all seriousness, let's begin. And I'll throw the first one out because we were just talking about it. E.T. is definitely one of the first, at least when I was a young child. E.T. was I was a wee tot, but E.T. was definitely one of those first alien family friendly movies. The Spielberg, iconic even to this day. Super sad that the ride is closed, but one of the best.
Everyone agrees.
Jody,
The E.T. ride is out of this world.
I got on a bike and I rode with E.T.
those special effects are great.
It's spectacular.
It's for everyone. It's great.
I've never flown like this before.
She said my name.
Oh.
Ride the movies at Universal Studios Hollywood.
I love E.T.
I was just going to talk about that too. Like, you say E.T., like my brain honestly goes straight to Universal Studios, Hollywood, the E.T. ride. That's just where my brain went.
Goodbye, Chet.
Yeah.
Every person's that's listening is gonna think we're sponsored by Universal Studios because the past 3 podcasts we've referenced we promise we're not sponsored. Although if the phone rang, we'd pick it up.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
I will accept Universal Studios money. Yes.
Yes. Yep.
And
I don't know.
Also, before he'd call him E.T., I did look this up. He is an Asogian from the Green Planet, also known as Brodo Asagi.
Okay.
Obviously, it's important information.
Yeah, well, because didn't his species make a cameo in the Star Wars? Which Star Wars was that?
Episode 1.
Yes,
they were in the Senate.
If you all don't remember it, that's if you watch episode 1,
they're one of the aliens. In one of the pods.
It was
3 of them.
Yes. So go watch it because it is a 2-second little cameo, but worth the watch.
Which you gotta question the Galactic Senate because I don't know if they should have gotten him in. That and the Dungans were the 2 species where maybe you should have other people making your decisions for you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't understand because all of the different alien species were talking about like what they're gonna do with this evilness that's going to spread throughout the galaxy. And they raised their hand and they were like, "What about Reese's Pieces? Will that help?" And it was super quiet. So that didn't happen, but maybe the deleted scenes, that would be pretty amazing to see.
That was that product placement, and Lucas was like, "I just can't go for that." Like, I was like, "Take it out."
When's the last time anybody had Reese's Pieces, by the way?
Probably since ET.
A couple weeks ago. I love Reese's Pieces.
Oh, Dr. Brantley, you're one of us. I love that they went to the Mars company and they were like, "Can we use M&Ms?" They're like, "No shit, no, we're not gonna." And they're like, "Okay, we'll do Reese's Pieces." And that's
why
the
I'm
story.
having Reese's Pieces to this day and not eating M&Ms. So they screwed up.
Well, I don't know. I'm eating the M&Ms, brother. So I don't know. They do it pretty good. For me, I'm gonna say the species. I don't know the name because he never actually had a name, but I remember it did scare the living crap out of me. Was the Thing when John Carpenter's The Thing, because that could mimic anyone, and it has one of the best scenes. And in fact, there was a Halloween photo that I saw on Instagram, like in the last couple of weeks, and they had some guy did his dog, and he dressed him up, and he had like the thing like exploding from the dog and everything. It was a great costume, but just like, I don't think anybody else other than someone of our age got the reference and everything. But I was like, oh, that's just wrong, man.
Well, I'm going to say the alien from M. Night Shyamalan Signs, probably one of the creepiest scenes where the alien walks by. I remember that epic sequence in the movie theater. So whatever alien species they were, Signs is definitely a really good alien film.
Well, they had the stupidest weakness of any alien on the planet, though, because water, which Earth is made up of 70% water, it's in the atmosphere. If they were going through a cornfield at night like they were, they would have been hit with little droplets of water all over. So these are stupid, stupid, stupid aliens. They came to the wrong planet.
Well, so far, those have been the top 3 on the list, actually. The Dungan, CT, and now the aliens from Sides.
Yeah, well, Xenomorph, right? Alien films. Let's just get that out of the way. And all all the aliens in that, like, epic top alien films, for sure. We could
probably the best killers ever.
Oh, yeah.
And also what hunts it, the Predator.
Yes,
absolutely. Which, to be quite honest with you, I think he might be the top kind of like alien, because the Predator just like he's factored in almost in every kind of like genre. He's fought like almost everyone across the board. If you go through comics, him and Batman squared it down. If you go through like they've done a film where they've the two franchises, the Alien versus Predator. So he's kind of like one of those debatable aliens that's the top of his game, man.
Obviously, with my setup, my background, you can tell that the alien species that I really think is the best is the Klingons. They are the best. They're very honorable, warrior. You don't mess with them. And also, the most feared creature in the Klingon Empire, a Tribble. It's the only thing that they're afraid of.
You just broke out every damn prop you had in the house tonight, huh?
Oh, I'm not done. There's all sorts of props around me. I can't walk.
Now, let's not forget, not the LeBron James version, but the Michael Jordan version. Come on now. Like the what was the team?
Monstars?
The Monstars. Come on. I mean, I'm not saying the movie was amazing, but that's a bunch of alien basketball players fighting Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny. They got to count. That LeBron James version, again, talking about Thanos needs to snap that out of the universe because that should have never been made.
I don't know,
But-
because right now, the way the Lakers have been playing, the Monsters probably could beat them.
That's true. He makes some calls.
That's the start five in the NBA.
Does anyone know the aliens, like who the aliens were from Cowboys versus Aliens? I don't remember the name of the aliens.
I don't either. No,
I don't.
I barely remember the movie.
No.
Well, it was by Jon Favreau. So
yeah, it's unforgettable, brother. It's unforgettable.
I mean, I'm always gonna have a place in my heart for Alf.
Yeah. Hey, Willie.
Yeah.
Exactly. What about the alien from Independence Day?
Oh, yes.
Will Smith?
Mm-hmm.
I was a little disappointed in that alien when I first saw it, but then there's newfound appreciation when I've watched that movie again. Like, it didn't need to be super scary, and I definitely iconic, that film. So I don't know what the hell the actual character alien species was, but it's definitely up there.
And when you said you were disappointed, I thought you was going to go to the Will Smith thing. I somehow didn't think you were talking about the alien. I was like, okay, well, where are we going on this? One, I know for the video game ones, and actually I saw, I've never really played the game, but I did watch some of the animated little movies they did, was The Covenant from Halo. I did watch that series. I didn't think the series was really that good. That's probably why it's got only one season. But I've seen the animated shorts and the videos that they've done, and that's a pretty bad race, brother.
Yeah, the Covenant. I mean, the Covenant was good in Halo. Like that, I remember you're going through one level, and all it is just like the Covenant attacking you. You just keep running out of bullets. It was massive. It was really good. Halo. I think Halo was ahead of its time. To be honest,
yeah,
it still holds up. It's still really good, but there's too many hands took over and swapped, and it just became stupid. But the Covenant's really good. The Gears of War, the alien race from Gears of War is epic. That's an alien race where, like, if that shit did happen, like, we would be screwed. Like, that's not good.
The Locusts, isn't that their name? Yeah, for sure. I think two Tom Cruise films that stand out: War of the Worlds, the remake.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good.
Those alien, like that was cool. And then The Edge of Tomorrow was cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Those like weird, like octopus, fast moving things. Super underrated movie too. We were talking about it before the cast, like underrated films. Edge of Tomorrow is really good. I think they were trying to make a sequel. I don't know what happened to that. But that was when I had no expectations, and I was like, damn, really good.
Well, that's when you'd also have to get the script very tight and very correct, because the first one you do, with all the time loop stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be so focused on that. There can't be any loopholes or anything. So, I can see why that would take a long time. It's like, if everything isn't right, there's no point in doing it.
Mm-hmm.
How about the Visitors from V? That's always that was a creepy series in the 80s when that came on.
In the same light, the aliens from They Live, right? That had infiltrated Earth, and you got to see what the hell they look like without the human skin. That was kind of creepy.
No one said Coneheads yet.
No, but yes.
But I believe they were from France. So
they were from France. There was also Paul.
Oh yeah,
the Paul movie. Yeah,
was that Simon
Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen.
Yeah, that guy.
The bugs from Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah,
those guys are great.
Yeah,
very underrated first film, man. It's got one of the best kind of sequences that you see in films, especially the CGI. I actually went to go, myself and my cousin got like advanced screening to the movie, and I guess it was a test audience, and they didn't have any of the CGI. So basically what they put on the screen was like, alien bug here. It was just a sign. and we were like, well, it's like we got to see what those aliens look like, but it looks like it's a pretty good movie. And then when I saw the film with all the CGI and everything, it was like, wow, they took that to another level. The bugs were way more scarier than I anticipated when you just didn't see the special effects or anything. So I think it's a very underrated sci-fi film.
Did they change much from what you saw, like out of the Human story? Did they cut a lot of that?
No, that was almost all there. It was just that, like I said again, they just had like whenever there was supposed to be an alien or something, they put a sign up saying "alien here," and that was in the early days of like the CGI, where I was thinking like, how are they going to do this? Because he didn't even have in certain scenes the total green matte placement of things. So it was like they were basically acting, and there was like no one there. And you're like, how is this going to work? And then when you saw it on the screen, it's like, wow, that took a heck of a lot. Not like when you see now the tennis balls and everything else like they use. That was way before then.
Well, Star Wars had tons of aliens in it, but the best alien, in my opinion, is Chewbacca. So I'm going to put him on the list of legendary aliens. And then we have the Mars Attacks aliens as well. So gotta throw them in there.
Those are good. I like Mars Attacks is an underrated movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but
yeah, I agree. I agree.
And another alien from Mars is Marvin the Martian from Looney Tunes.
Oh, we're going way back, huh?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about the District 9 aliens.
No.
Yep.
District 9 was pretty rad.
Great movie.
Yeah. I like District 9 because a lot of it was practical effects, and that was great. Mm-hmm. And it was because they made them just like slumlords. What was that really bad? What was that really bad Netflix film with Will Smith and they were cops? He had an alien as a cop. Mm-mm. And it just got demolished online.
My goodness, I haven't thought of that since it released.
Mm-hmm. What was that movie? Wasn't he an orc or something?
He was an orc.
He was an orc.
Yeah, it was because it was a fantasy thing, right?
But he was a cop orc. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the hell it was.
Yeah, because the fairies lived and elves lived in Beverly Hills.
Exactly. Yeah.
What the hell was the name of that?
Oh,
I'm looking it up right now because I can't. If you look right now, quick type it in the comments. It was called Bright.
Bright,
yes,
yeah. It was anything but that.
Not Bright.
It actually,
but it got so much shit for the orcs.
Well, you also remember that was the first time they promoted that with the Super Bowl. And they were saying that, that was like the first time they had done a movie for Netflix. It was going to bypass the theaters. So they made a big deal out of it. I just think it was the wrong movie for them they had used and everything because it was such a decisive film. It's like, my goodness. I think David Akers. Yeah, that was a mistake. That was a total mistake. Netflix probably never downlived that one. And I think what was the next one? They did was off of what was it? J.J. Abrams' property that they had done.
Oh,
they
the Cloverfield Project.
Yeah, they did the same stunt like I think a year or two later, and that backfired as well. So I don't think we'll see Netflix do any more grand designs like that.
What was that other one? He was with his son in the movie
After Earth. After Earth. Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan.
That one was
just not good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And actually, the funny thing too is that there's After Earth, and then there's a oh god, I'm trying to think. I think it was but it was exactly stolen from the exact same After Earth kind of scenario. I think I'm trying to think of the.
Is that the Adam Driver one?
The Adam Driver film, yes.
65.
65.
Yeah, it was exactly like After Earth, and the same kind of, same story, same kind of situation, and same like dynamics, an older individual and a child, and they have to make a trek through the planet. It was the same exact storyline. I do think that 65 pulled it off way better than After Earth with M. Night Shyamalan. I thought that it was a little bit more interesting of a film, but same kind of premise almost.
I just remember 65 being a really good napping movie.
You spent 65 minutes of the film sleeping.
Yeah. I did like Aliens in the Attic.
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember that? That was like what was that one? That was like 2000.
Yeah, early.
It's like 2009, something like that. They were like ghetto aliens in the fucking. It was so bad. There's one that's like, well, for me, it's totally my childhood. But what's his nuts that plays Ant-Man? I'm forgetting his name.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Paul Rudd always brings a clip of this movie to interviews, but it's Mac and me.
Yes. Yes.
You remember that? Like that was like 1988 or some shit like that. And I only watched it. I mean, I know I watched it when I was a kid. Like I know I saw that when I was a kid. But I also went back and watched it after Paul Rudd just kept like bringing that on. And I mean, it's hard to watch. But it's an alien movie.
Well,
one that I actually really liked was Cocoon.
Yes, nobody talks about Cocoon anymore.
No, but Cocoon is like that's like prime movie.
I was
like
gonna say
80s.
it's prime Gutenberg is what you have there.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. I don't know.
How old do you think Wilford Brimley was in that movie?
I know how old he was because I'm older than him now.
Isn't it crazy? I always thought like watching that as a kid, you would think like they were 85 years
No,
old.
he was like 47. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Oh boy.
Yeah, that shit had Don Amici in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
All those, Jessica Tandy. There was a lot.
Do you all remember Batteries Not Included?
Yes.
So good.
Were they aliens? I forget. I think so.
And
right?
Batteries Not Included? Yeah.
Yeah, they're aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No.
Prime Steve Gutenberg. Yeah. Police Academy. I know it's not an alien film, but I'm thinking there's about good 4 or 5 films and then fell off the map.
Gremlins.
Well, I don't know if they're an alien.
Weren't they a science experiment or something?
Well, no, all we know is the Chinese man had him in Chinatown and, don't know where they came from.
Sounds like the COVID origin story. What the hell? Then we should have watched Gremlins.
From a lab in Wuhan came the Gremlins.
Oh, boy.
Well, one of the best aliens is Superman, Kal-El.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, at least he came for good. He could have, ended up being a real asshole, and then we'd all be screwed.
Well,
Superman Red Son.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, the other Kryptonians just showed up, did that well. So.
Who was that? I liked it when he threw him in the mirror, and they were just all flying around the mirror.
Yeah.
Chris Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
I miss you.
No, I think Warner Brothers definitely misses the nostalgia of Christopher Reeve as Superman up until I guess the third film.
They have no problem putting him in a Flash movie.
They did, yeah. Nor apparently Nicolas Cage either, who didn't know about that. Where they paid him for that performance.
Yeah, that was crazy. He said that that's not what he did on stage. He came in, got in a suit, and did a whole scene, but all they did was use his body and redo his face to do lasers coming out of his eyes. He's like, that wasn't even in the scene. There was no spider. There was none of that.
Well, that sounds like a Warner Brothers decision.
Yep.
Now, one of the creepiest scenes in Alien movie history is Fire in the Sky sequence when he's abducted and he's recalling the events and they're like probing him. Probably one of the most realistic, because those are the fears you read in books of people being captured and then let back go. But those were kind of cool to see those aliens. That was like very typical of what you've seen other people's reports to be. I would say that being my top 5 super creepy alien sequences.
Yeah, that and Communion had like the gray alien.
Yes.
Very freaky.
Super creepy.
I read that book, Communion, when it came out, and I was not able to go to sleep for like 2 days after it because I thought as soon as I closed my eyes, the aliens were going to come get me. I was like 17 years old, and I'm like, I shouldn't be scared, but I know that they're going to get me.
And see, I like to think of like, an alien with hope. And like it's instead of always like if they're going to come, they're going to be evil or something. So I always thought of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where they just come and they're just like, they did some experiments. They took some World War II guys and they just grabbed up some other individuals, but then they returned them back. And they were ready to hand man a little epic ride and everything. Now we don't know if after like that sequel, maybe bad things happened, but up until they got on the ship, everything looked like it was good.
And they can get down on the synthesizer too.
Yeah,
they definitely can.
Or one of the, I think it still holds up today, but it's How to Serve Man from the Twilight Zone episode. Because like they had you totally fooled. They were like, "Hey, we're going to take over everything," and then my man is like on the spaceship is like, "Oh God, this went terribly wrong." It's always one of those things that says, "Listen to your first thought." Listen to your first thought. Everybody's like, "Oh no, it's good. I'm going to take a trip and everything." It's like, "Oh, that was the last trip."
Being that it's the Shadow Crew podcast, I don't want to upset him and not talk about Suburban Commando. So I think there's something to say about Suburban Commando because Hulk Hogan was one buff alien.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I think that was
not as buff as Drax, but close.
No, but close, yeah.
But close.
But I do think that movie suplexed his career.
We could go on forever talking about aliens. I think maybe the next best of series is Ghosts. And speaking of ghosts, my favorite ghost of all time, Slimer from Ghostbusters. What do you all think about
Stay Puft?
No, well, that's close. That's a close second.
Yeah.
What do you all think of this Ghostbusters stuff going on? Another one, Afterlife. Now this new trailer that hit. I'm curious. You got Paul Rudd. You got the kid from Stranger Things. Is it a no-go? Yeah, is it a no-go for you, or are they doing right by the franchise? I mean, they wrecked it once by trying to do the all-female cast. It didn't quite click for me, but it wasn't because it was all females. It was just not good.
It was bad writing.
But what do y'all think?
Look, Bill Murray's in it, so I'll probably watch it. But I got to be honest with you, like the first one they did, whatever that was Afterlife or something. Like it was cool. It was, but it was the only reason why I liked it was because it was like the cameos from like the original crew. Like I don't think that the storyline was very good. Like I just, it's like you got this angsty teenager who doesn't want to live somewhere because the mom classically can't afford to do anything. So they get something that's a handout and everyone bitches about it, but something's cool about it. Like cool, next plot line, like I don't know, Frozen Empire, like I don't know, like Elsa's just pissed off, like what are we doing here? It's like Ghostbusters, like Elsa's Revenge should be the title, but I don't know.
They don't want to give it away.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, you have to pay your ticket to get in to see Elsa.
To find out that it's Elsa. Let it go.
I think the direction that they've made on this one was, I naturally thought that when they were going to say, hey, they were going to do a new Ghostbusters movie, at one point before Afterlife, I thought they were just going to reboot the cast, not basically use like Bill Murray or anything. I thought they were going to go into like Star Trek kind of scenario where they just got new actors in and just put them in a timeline. But I thought to do the kick it down to like the young youth kind of thing, and everybody knows how to use proton packs and the rest of the kind of thing. I didn't think Afterlife was. You can sit through it. It's not a terrible film, but it's just not a lot of substance in it. And when I saw the new Frozen Empire, I saw the trailer. I was like, it looks a little bit like they just did the same thing, but now they moved them to New York. So I think if this one doesn't do a huge box office, I could see them possibly either putting a hiatus to the franchise or just doing a complete reboot again, and that'll be like what, the third reboot for this franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the problem with Ghostbusters, in my opinion, is that it's so attached to Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I think Ghostbusters, like the sarcasm, the wit, like he's like, I get Aykroyd and everyone else, but it's kind of Bill Murray at the helm, right? And that's the problem I also had with like when they tried to reboot Han Solo film.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's Harrison Ford. I know, like I'm not trying to be picky. I'm not saying Harrison Ford has to be Han Solo for the next 100 years, but like you really got to nail it, otherwise it feels a bit off. And I thought this Ghostbusters Afterlife was, I don't know, there's lacking that element. I don't know, and maybe they can recapture it this time around because I think it's a cool franchise. Like I don't want it to stop because of that, but it just felt like that was the missing piece.
But
Bill Murray stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like my issue is that Ghostbusters became a film where the on-screen chemistry of everybody involved that was a Ghostbuster was just really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just really good on-screen chemistry. But that was a thing back when a lot of movies were being made back then, is like they casted based on like the chemistry of the people in the room. And so like the Ghostbusters, the conversations you watch in like the first Ghostbusters, they just seem like conversations that would really happen if ghosts were like having. And yeah, Bill Murray definitely is carrying the mantle in terms of just like people at the time would go watch it because Bill Murray, like get Caddyshack, all that other stuff. But like, I don't know, like I think that it's just where I find like this missing for me in these movies is like, I don't know if I can't tell if it's a combination of like the writing isn't hitting right or the chemistry isn't clicking on the people they're casting because they're just trying to get people into the roles. And if you watch like Ghostbusters 1, the original, and then watch like any of the new reboots, right? It's because the original Ghostbusters, like, let's be honest, it's not like you're not going to win any awards on the writing, but it was a fun popcorn movie and ended up being like a cultural phenomenon. So how do you reboot something that is weighted that heavy and do it right if you don't spend the time finding, because I think they could have found chemistry for people to carry the mantle of Ghostbusters, but I just don't think they're taking the time to do that.
Well, that first movie was a comedy. Ghostbusters Afterlife was not a comedy. It had some humorous bits in it, but it wasn't a comedy movie. And
it was like drama.
That's what was missing, I think, is because the first two movies, the second one, they lean way more into a little goofy comedy, but the first one is like real guys that just happen to be goofy guys, some of them, and the ghosts are treated seriously. They're not being funny. That librarian is scary at the beginning. All this stuff. Even though it's silly that a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man comes in, the creature that's starting it is not. It's the end of the world. So they're missing some of that combination, I think. It's, but it just wasn't a comedy. It didn't have that same feel.
So it was surprisingly enough that Bill Murray was not the original. It was Aykroyd wrote it with John Belushi or John Belushi
John.
before he passed. And I think he wanted like Eddie Murphy to be in it at some point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I heard that.
But to your point, chat, like they wrote it because they were like friends. They were on SNL. There's not a lot of that in Hollywood anymore. I think the closest you have to kind of that feeling that way from a comedic element is like that whole like Apatow, Seth Rogen, all those dudes that kind of work together, some of the female characters. It's kind of dissipated, but there was a good 10-year stint where they all did different films and it gelled really well. Some like really good things came out of that. But overall, like the comedy stuff feels just like too Hollywood. And that's what I think, unfortunately, this will probably feel like again.
Well, here's this is a theory I have, and I'll throw it out there with this Ghostbuster thing, right? Like, I think that, so if we were to say, cool, here's the Shadow Crew production for movies, and someone came to us with a movie idea and they wanted it, I would give such a tight budget that they would have to be creative, right? So I would say your CGI budget is like $250,000. Find some college interns and make a movie. Because if you go back and look at all the movies that we love, all the movies that have been staples in our lives, like the budgets weren't very big for the movies for the time. Like there were definitely like some top budgets back in the day. You could argue any Peter Jackson movie, like, I mean, you could argue that, right? But if you go back and look at some of the better movies that just hit and popped and like exploded and became cultural phenomenons, they weren't high budget movies, and they're still fantastic to watch. And Ghostbusters, I don't know what the budget was. I'm sure it was up there because of the names behind it, writing it, and SNL like obviously has its weight, but it's also like the original Ghostbusters budget wasn't as big as what the budgets are for the new ones. And there's something about when you're like and I think we kind of talked about it a little bit just in like the comics, like a few podcasts back as well. Like you got like Marvel, DC, that's like, McDonald's money in reference to like restaurants. Like, doesn't matter if you lose $100 million, it's McDonald's money, we don't care. But in movies, I think that a lot of people get comfortably lazy writing and creative wise when you have a lot of money. And so I think if you look at it and you go, okay, how could we make this movie better? And like, is there anything to like, here's a version of the movie that would be like, X amount of money, and then here's a version of the movie that would be less, right? Which one would you want to fund? Because I think when you're tight on that stuff, you just come up with way more creative ideas, right? Like maybe you don't have enough money to show everything at once, so that leaves a level of suspense, right? Like I'll go back to this. What was the budget for the original Saw movie? Right?
Oh, yeah. Very low.
It was in one room. And at the end of that movie, the asshole gets up from the ground after everybody has like demolished, like just ruined themselves. And you just walked out of that and you're like, where has this movie been? Right. But that budget was small because they need to prove something. That was back in the day of like Lionsgate, like kind of like finding their own thing. But I just think that's what's ruining a lot of these movies, like with Ghostbusters. Like, here's 200 million, 300, 400 million dollars, go make a movie. And then everyone just sits back and like, let's write over half of this movie in CGI and offload that shit to some CGI bin and let them just make our movie. And then we'll try to make it look cool on green screen. I'm not into it.
I think that's been the major problem with like all this lately Marvel stuff. where
Absolutely.
they've got so much money that they can afford to reshoot and oh well, we're gonna have to redo this ending, so make everybody work double time on the CGI, and it's gonna be done in 2 weeks and it's not gonna look good, but we have to get
we'll
the
put it
movie
out anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like it's exactly, compare Iron Man 1 to like any of the newer ones. Iron Man 1 didn't have a big budget and used a majority of practical effects enhanced with CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just you're in a mocap suit running around like a giant green screen with like you just do whatever you want, and it's like I mean, okay, but Iron Man 1's still the best. So like I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here, right? Captain America: Winter Soldier. What was the CGI in that movie?
Yeah, his arm.
His arm was a practical effect.
Well, they did part of it CGI.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, but again, it's
yeah. And why is that one of the better Marvel movies, right?
Or the writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it all comes down to the writing.
Because they had to write a movie that didn't include CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have X, who's launching a movie completely written in AI, and that's launching like this month, and it doesn't look bad. So now we got a problem. So like, let's have AI write a Ghostbusters movie and just see what happens.
Well, what I would say though, I think what's helped, honestly, because I know the actors are back to work, the writers are back to work. These movie studios have lost millions of dollars, but like every streaming service, I don't know one that's reported like outstanding profits lately, right? Like there continues to be things at a loss. Peacock, Paramount, Disney, the whole works. Is that a lot of budgets are getting reduced or canceled? Like I just read Blade, the new Blade that got pushed back. It's now sub $100 million budget. I was like, what the hell were they making if they needed more than that? Like, that goes to show you aggressive CGI that's not needed. I think it's going to push Hollywood in a different direction. I'm hoping. Like my thoughts are there'll still be room for the big budget stuff, but I think they'll be less aggressive. I think they'll cancel a lot of stuff. The budget's too high, and it's going to force writers, directors to make good quality shit, and you don't put $200-300 million, putting lipstick on a pig, if you will. So I'm hoping that's the case. And with that, like all these movies now, because of the delays in Hollywood, Deadpool 3, Cap America 4, Thunderbolts, Blade, all these Marvel movies we've talked about, do you think that's going to help? I hearing the whole Blade thing, that tells me it's probably going to help. It's either oh shit, we got to make this better, or it could be disastrous and it looks like shit. I'm hoping for the other.
So like Blade got pushed back, but it also got like an adult rating, right?
It did get R rating now.
They got pushed, but they reduced the budget significantly.
Sure, yeah, they reduced the budget significantly. I guarantee you Wesley Snipes' Blade movie's budget wasn't that big.
No.
So like those were fantastic. Like
That's
I'm sorry, like I love the Blade movies with Wesley Snipes. Like they're great.
Blade budget was $45 million.
The original?
Yep.
Yeah, make this one $50 million. You get $5 million extra bucks. Because if you go watch a $45 million movie like the original Blade, and you're like, that's great, and then you go watch a new Blade movie that has like a $100 million budget, and you're like, what the hell am I watching? Like, there's your problem. Is like, what am I, what am I watching? I think the pushback for all these movies, do I think it'll make for the better product overall? I don't know. I don't know how much they give a shit, to be honest.
I don't know. I think they're scared now because all these things have been failing lately. So they're going to want to fix the problem no matter what it is. It's like, if we have to start over, but we're going to do something different than we've been doing. Because if they don't, they are just going to kill Marvel.
Well, how many of the original Marvel movies came out before Disney took over?
Like 3 or 4.
And those were all great. Just put a woman in it and make her gay.
Well, here's the thing. Like
Go get Lincoln.
There was an article that executives now for top rated Hollywood Reporter, I forget when it released, but some of the top rated TV shows, streaming or network, were cost anywhere from $10 to $11 million average per episode, and they're looking to reduce that to about $6 to $7 million an episode, which is pretty significant if you think about all the production costs. And guess what would take the most of that budget? It's going to be special effects, right? So the writing better be good, because again, if you can't write like shit, we have a gap here. Let's just put Iron Man in a suit and fly him around the whole city. You're not going to be able to do that. Oh, I'm gonna have to create interesting dialogue and a backstory for me to care about this character. So it's going to be forced hand. It's going to be either good, or you're going to turn in a product that's like people are going to go, geez, this looks like it was made in the 90s. And that's what we're kind of seeing now with some of these series.
Well, I would say that one of the major problems that this has all created is that there's no accountability at the top. And it comes down to that in the day, if you don't perform your job right, they let you go. And they used to do that a lot in the 80s and 90s in studios. Julie and I always have that joke that, they were very good where if security showed up to your office, after a weekend bad box office, they would hand you a box and that executive would be shown the door. But now what's happening is there's no accountability, at as much as, we love Kevin Feige for the things he's done, people have felt to realize that in the last phase and a half, he's lost probably as much money as he's made through the first 4 phases. But yet there's no accountability for it. They haven't went to him and say, "Hey, look, man, this is what we're going to do. We're going to reduce." They gave him an actual bonus and actual more duties. And the same thing when you look at the Lucasfilms or you look at any of the other franchises, executives aren't held to Netflix. They've got these guys that are running through the SAG and the Writers Guild, and they're on strike, and these guys are complaining they're not getting their bonuses. And they're like, well, how can you get bonuses if the actual people that are working on these films aren't working? But we don't hold these executives to the same kind of esteem that any other normal job would be held. So now I think there is like Disney's pushback, because Iger's looking around. He's like we were making hand over fist money. We're not doing it now. So now where do I need to trim the fat? What needs to start happening here? And now there's heat on Marvel. And now they're starting to say, okay, we just can't come out with like $30 million episodes that we have to scrap. Now we have to actually make sure that we're kind of running this like a professional studio will have to. So I think that the whole writers being on strike and the actors being on strike was a good effect for Hollywood, in the aspect is that you saw the value in the people that create the shows and they do the things they need to do. But also in the same way, executives can't throw money and just like, well, we'll just come up with any kind of form of entertainment. People's going to sit through it. No, you have to give people good actual product now. And I think now it's how can we get good product for less? That's going to be the main thing that's going to go on from this point on.
Yeah, they're going to have to choose when they use the CGI and where they can, cover over it, and just be, much more careful and actually write a good story for a change.
Yep. Do you know, out of all the Marvel movies, eliminating the 3 latest Avengers movies, Infinity War, Endgame, and Age of Ultron, what do you think outside of those 3 was the highest budget of a Marvel movie? What would you guess comes in number 4?
Like the 4th highest?
4th highest, right at following those 3 Avenger films that obviously had Endgame had like a $400 million budget. Oh, yeah. This one has close to $300 million. The 4th
Civil War.
Any other guesses?
Let's see. Maybe Thor 2, I think what's called the Dark World, or yeah,
The Marvels.
No, Jesus. Yeah. Well,
so talk about trying to cover up a massive mistake and a failure you're anticipating by devoting close to $300 million at it, the highest budget outside of an Avengers film. That's crazy.
Yeah, right.
And that needs to change.
Right now,
that
I
needs to
think
change.
isn't it tracking for 48 million this weekend?
Yeah,
it's curtains.
Yeah,
well, and that's not
even. I don't even think it'll hit that.
That's not even the marketing budget either, which is probably another 100 million.
Jesus,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's like. So I know there's like the John Wick anime stuff, right? Like when you think about budgets and that coming out, so it would be interesting to hear what everyone here thinks about that, but also it's kind of interesting if you think about it. Like we've talked about this before, Marvel has done great at like live action, but DC has done great on animated, right? And like if you think about it, your budget for something like John Wick anime, you're gonna get what you pay for because everything is animated, right? And so you're realistically spending the time on writing, storyboarding, sending it off, and it gets animated, and it comes back, and it's like either really good or really bad. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on the John Wick anime?
I think it's a smart decision for them, especially it's the same article we were reading that said the Continental excluded the directors and most of the creatives behind the John Wick films, and that's why the actual product seems so distant from the actual films. And so when you're looking at anime, one, you're going to probably get a closer representation of what the films are going to be. Two is, Keanu Reeves doesn't have to put his body through that kind of undertaking if he voices it, which chances are he's probably going to voice the character. And I think you're going to be able to explore other avenues that we weren't able to see. And this is something that I've kind of been debating on, is that like we had to say the thing about DC and Marvel, and they have Marvel has, or Disney itself has the money to actually do an actual animated kind of situation with some of the other films, and they don't do a good job of that. DC doesn't do a good job of live action, but they do a better job of animation. Now you're looking at something where I think this is going to be the blueprint, like the way they did the Matrix when they did the Animatrix. You're able to tell other stories and not such an expensive avenue, because anime is not like we're running like Pixar money in order to do something. Anime is a little bit more budget friendly compared to when they're doing it over in Japan and the work that's being done compared to doing a Pixar film here or something. So I think you're going to get more a streamlined story that's going to be from the creatives. You're right, the writing is probably going to be top notch, but the action and the backgrounds that we can't necessarily get from a John Wick film will be explored into this. So I think it's going to be highly successful.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of like the animated sequence in Kill Bill. Like I could see that kind of a style would work really good with John Wick. But any of that anime style could be really cool. And we were talking about it a couple of casts ago, where something you could do is a prequel and show John Wick at his height. And this is a perfect way to do it. Is an anime. You could do all of the cool gun action, and I think it'd be great.
I've heard the same studio that did Cowboy Bebop is the studio that's doing the John Wick. And if you look at Spike from Cowboy Bebop, it's pretty much very similar to the John Wick style of kind of thing. So I think that you're going to get a very good product. That's going to be something that I think we're going to. Chances are we'll probably see this on maybe Peacock if it's still around. But I think that's going to boost in the same thing, the John Wick lore,
Or do you think this will go straight to DVD physical media? Because that is supposed to be having a comeback.
Yeah. I was reading the same article. I think that it's when streaming first started, I thought that it was going to be the end of DVDs, And they were like, okay, they actually plugged Disney Plus's, all of the Disney library will be up on the Disney Plus. And I thought, well, that's a heck of a value comparably where now I don't have to have this physical media in my house. I can basically watch anything at any time. And then slowly now we're starting to see that actually wasn't a sustainable plan for studios, that they basically made their money by having other studios or other networks pick up their products and pay them for it. So, yeah, I think it's the same way that vinyl made a recovery. I think that digital media is going to open up the door for physical media to creep back in, because now I'm starting to see that when I'm going on to whatever streaming platform, they don't have like the same volume of things that's like, well, this is not here and that's not here and that's taken down. And I thought we were supposed to avoid all this with streaming in the first place. So I do think that there's going to be a door open back up for physical media.
Well, I think what will happen with streaming services, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, you're gonna have the Google store, and you're gonna have Apple TV, and that's where you'll go to find like all the digital versions of everything, and just because no one wants to keep paying like the amount they're paying for every streaming service to just get one or two shows, and then you end up finding out about Plex servers and everyone, and so I think what'll happen is we'll see the decline of a lot of streaming services, but something like Apple or Google or Amazon is going to house all of the streaming stuff, because like right now I can log into my Apple TV and I can like buy a movie that's in the theater and watch it in my house for like a fraction of the cost. Like I'm not,
But
like,
if they decide to take it off, then you have no access to that movie anymore. If there's something you like, that's why I think physical media is never going to go away. It's like having a book.
I 1,000% agree on that. And there are some things that I actually thoroughly enjoy that I do have like the physical copies of.
You're not going to get a flux capacitor with the animated series and all 3 Back to the Futures in it. Okay.
Well, that's
first off, I'm upset that you have that.
Well, that's the thing though, but I think, to be clear, the physical media portion, when you say DVDs, I think it's like the collectible stuff, like the what you just outlined. I don't think anybody's interested in like Back to the Future. Exactly. Like that stuff is cool.
It's a briefcase with Blade Runner in it.
Jeez, it was fucking Blockbuster over here.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? Well, I didn't know we were supposed to bring out
props.
Well, look, this is again. We were going to have a debate about physical versus digital media, and digital can't compete.
Here we go.
One more, okay? Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that's
the
rad.
original movies.
That's
Come
rad.
on.
That's rad.
Now it's useless. It's big. It's stupid, but I love it.
Yeah. I've got a.
This is Isaac Asimov's Robots VCR mystery game.
Well, I've got a few.
Find that shit.
I think next time we do some collectibles, because I've got like a bunch of like cool Blu-ray, DVD stuff, but I think that is the future. I will also say, people like the vinyl portion of music, the vinyl piece, because it's like, it takes you back to a time. It's still the physical thing, but there's something retro about it. I think, if anything, and I'm starting to see this more and more, laser discs. I'm not saying they're going to be exploding, because it's hard to find a laser disc player. It's so much easier to find a vinyl player. But I think laser disc is cool. It's kind of a cool hobby that's catching on for some of those old films, and it's super collectible too. Like that physical asset.
You do have to switch it over halfway through the movie, though. That sucks.
But hey, it's okay. It's all right.
No, you don't.
You're changing a real.
If you had enough money, that shit would do for you.
Yeah, I think time. There's no question. I think there's going to be. I just hope the new generations of folks, and people who love film and TV, they carry that on. And I don't know if it's DVD, if it's Blu-ray. Does anybody remember HD DVDs? I guess
do.
Blu-ray
Heck
run
yeah,
that
I
more.
have some.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but like, remember, like, does anybody have Betamax? It's I think there's something cool about that, especially if you love a film, you love a franchise. There's nothing better. Speaking of nothing better in terms of physical assets, toys.
Mm-hmm.
And before we jump into our last topic, which is what's the crew watching today, I think a special shout out to a couple of toy folks, including our sponsors. So as always, I'll turn it over to Mr. Storm to talk about our great sponsor, but also a comment from a special shop of Chet Maddox realm.
Yes, well, we're gonna go with the Chet Maddox scenario. We have an Instagram. If you guys don't know, it's go over to Instagram, the Shadow Knows network at Instagram, so you can actually go follow us there. But we post there every now and then little clips from the show or the little posts or any kind of things that we find that we can't really kind of do on the podcast or we can't really do in any of the videos. So this week we posted. Mr. Chet Maddox did a great job of gifting me the His Tank for my birthday, but it was His Tank 3. Sent it all the way from, we're not going to give us locations, but the other side of the country over to back to Southern California. So I was looking at the pricing, and I remember when they had that up on the Hasbro Post or any other points, I think it was like a $35, $40 thing. So at Ollie's, it was for $12.99. It was like, wow, that's pretty good. So we posted that on our website saying, hey, you know what? And I've seen this on all the other toy YouTubers. So it's not like exclusively we've done it here. We see it all over the place. Ollie's is blowing up. People are knowing you can go get great deals on Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe Classifieds or any other action figures that basically are overstocked. So we put it up. And we mentioned, hey, to go to Ollie's. And of course, we tagged Ollie's in. And Ollie's gave us an actually very fun reply back, which I thought was actually kind of cool because Ollie's is still a major outlet. And for someone over there to just be like, hey, let me throw this back at, these guys, I thought that was really cool. You're not going to see Hasbro really kind of do those kind of things. You don't see Mattel or any of the bigger corporations, but it's nice that Target definitely won't, hit anybody back, especially here, how much we bash Target. But it was kind of cool that Ollie's kind of gave us a little love on that. And so when we mention places to go to, we're going to tell you, go to Ollie's. Thank you, Ollie's, for the shout out. But also, our sponsor is Toys vs. Games. And they are a sponsor because they are mom and pops and everything. And they do give shouts out. So, and they're going to look at all the products and the things that are coming out. They're going to get you the stuff that you need. And you're going to go in there. You're going to feel like you're getting the attention when you're walking in and purchasing something. It's Shadowe's Store by Trade. It's in Wilmington, California. We thank them for being a sponsor of the show, Toys vs. Games. If you want to go in there and actually, pick up old video games from anything back from the earlier models to the latest ones, they have it there. They do trades. It's just a really good kind of store that's a throwback to when you used to go down to those stores other than the big chains. So please support them if you're in Southern California. And even if you're flying to Southern California, stop by there in Wilmington, California.
Before we do a recap on the channel, last thing, what are you watching? What are you waiting for? Quick rundown, 30 seconds around the horn. Dr. Brantley, what are you watching? What are you looking forward to?
I am watching The Curse of Oak Island. It's come back for its 11th season, and this year they're definitely going to find it. I've been watching for 10 years now. They're this close. They're this close. They're going to get it this time, though. I'm pretty sure.
And what are you looking forward to?
I was thinking about this, and there's not that much. Probably the next thing right now that I know of I'm looking forward to is Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I can't think of any other things that are coming out that I know of that I'm that interested in.
Lucky for you, Deadpool got pushed back.
Yep.
Mr. Chet Maddox, what are you watching? What are you looking forward to?
Watching my blood pressure and looking forward to lower blood sugar. I am watching House. I started it again. I don't know if you guys have seen
I've
that.
seen it.
But I'm telling you right now, I started it. I'm on like episode 5, and it's like one of the best TV shows I've watched in the last 10 years. And that's old. So I'm waiting that. I also am two things. I'm gonna wait for Deadpool. I wasn't upset with the second one. I think it was fun. And I think I'm also extremely attached to what's happening with Blade because of the fact that I do love the Wesley Snipes Blades. Like I don't know what's going to happen with it. I'm excited to see what happens with it, even if it's bad. Just I'm hoping that it's not. So I think that's it. So yeah, so I'm watching House and looking forward to Deadpool and Blade.
Mr. Storm.
Two things. One, which with the whole strike and everything else, I didn't know there was anything new coming out. But the second season of Quantum Leap, I was pleasantly surprised by the first season. I was kind of like, all right, this is a reboot. Is it going to work? Is it not? They actually did a good job of a throwback to the original series, yet made it their own. And the second season started even better. So I'm kind of shocked. I think there's 5 episodes of the second season, and I thought that was going to be delayed due to the strike, but they've been pleasantly surprising. And the second thing that I'm watching that was pretty good. It's on free, but it was at one time on Amazon. Bosch Legacy. Just a great show. Great actors involved. Great direction. The second season of that just premiered the last couple of weeks, and I just saw the season finale of it. Very good show. What I'm waiting for is Echo, because of the fact is that character was. I loved it in the Hawkeye series, and it looks, the trailers and everything, even though I've heard there was little problems behind the scenes and everything, but the trailer looked pretty good. So I'm kind of looking forward to Echo, because Loki wasn't, I think, up to the cuff this time around. So I'm looking forward to having like a new Marvel series to actually watch.
I will say what I'm watching, which is so far different from what I typically watch, but it was recommended to me, and I'm no way into Formula One racing. But there's a series on Netflix called F1 Drive to Survive, and it chronicles. There's 5 seasons. I'm into episode 5, season 1. All the drivers and the teams and the drama and the races unfolds, and it's pretty crazy how well documented and filmed it is. And you'd think it was scripted because of all the drama and the characters. Super interesting in the world of racing. I had no idea, but for a change, because I couldn't find anything was like super cool. Some of the stuff's already ended and some of the new stuff is trash. I've gone to reality TV in a sense, docuseries. I think that's where the future is, to be honest with you. So I would recommend. You don't have to be a racing fan. I wasn't, and I'm into it. And what I'm really looking forward to, this is light years away, but James Mangold at the helm of the Star Wars franchise. I know Dave Filoni's taking a part of it. James Mangold's going to work on some other stuff. I want to see his take, because I think it'd be cool and interesting. Filoni's proved out to be a really great Star Wars captain there, obviously coming off Ahsoka and the work he's done on the animated side of things, helping with Mando. But I want to see someone else rendition and take, post Lucas. So I'm looking forward to that. It's probably years from now. But the other side of Star Wars, where that goes. But he's made some really great films, and I can't wait to see his take. So, channel updates real quick. We've got more retrospect happening again. If you haven't checked out the channel, Dr. Brantley and Mr. Storm continue to provide some really great retrospect series. So again, if you're in the kind of the classic movie monsters and some of the classic films, even some of the current stuff, I'd recommend you watch it. What's up next? in the lines of retrospect? What do we look forward to in the movie monster scale?
Well,
Dracula is coming soon.
Yeah,
Dracula.
And I think that's probably the best one of the retrospect. You're gonna catch it. I thought the Wolfman was pretty good. Frankenstein, we kind of muddled through it because it was a little tough. The Mummy was decent, but Dracula is probably going to be the best episode so far.
Awesome. Well, please take a look at that for all of you listening. New unboxed episode with chat. Obviously, enjoy those. Some interesting toys and other things. So I know chat's closet's full of interesting things. What's up next? Anything in your toy box, sir?
Yes. So this one's going to be the last one that's not like a series, but Alf is coming up. The convention exclusive Alf is coming up. And then the next one, I just actually picked up the final one to unbox them in the series, but the last Ronin NECA toys. I found the Walmart exclusive all white last Ronin toy. So I have 4 of them now that are going to be unboxed, and then that'll lead into a good amount of unboxing those, and then after that is the Batman animated series figures,
nice.
all of them. Yeah,
yes, I found a Batman one finally at Target, so I've got 3 down, a couple more to go. But
Alfred's coming out this week, I think.
I saw that.
Awesome. Obviously, Shadowe toy hunts, more coming. I love those takes. I think the last episode was pretty funny, but again, if you're looking to identify best deals across the country, specifically in parts of LA, it definitely stumbles across some interesting toys I would have never imagined would wind up in some of these places. Keep watching there. And then, for those of you who are into wrestling, the Tech Master returns. Some interesting things in the world of pro wrestling. Again, the whole merger with the UFC, some big stars returning, coming back. So looking forward to that. And then last update, Mr. Storm attending a big show. What do you want to say to everyone in the toy universe of your appearance?
I would love to say that that's actually big, but it's probably not.
Hey, to G.I. Joe fans, it's damn big.
I just last year I heard about it and I didn't really do it. I stay out in the Inland Empire, so it's kind of like outside of LA, and there's the SoCal Joe show, which is a very G.I. Joe centric show that's going to be on December 10th in Temecula, California out here. So I'm going to pop in and see what this is all about, because I've seen a couple other toy YouTubers that are from this area as well that's went down to it. And I'm looking forward to just going there. So I'm going to shoot some video, walk around and see. Believe me, no one's going to notice I'm there. But it's going to be cool just to pop into another one. And then also remember, December 1st through the 2nd, is going to be Comic-Con LA out here, which is a pretty big event for us. So, I don't know. I know we were all talking about trying to attend to that, but we'll see. But I definitely will be at the SoCal Joe show on the 10th.
Which also, let's just be honest. If the LA Comic-Con thing happens and we all show up, there might be an even bigger event, which is Maddox versus Storm's barbecue. So that's we gotta be careful with that. I would be the guest, so I would need some equipment. But
think we can find you some.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for listening, for viewing the Shadow Crew podcast. Subscribe, like, share. It helps us grow the channel. We appreciate you. Again, as always, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time. Adios.
Peace.